and welcome to the best thing you watched this week, or the best thing that we watched this week. Hopefully, some of what we talk about will be on your list of the best thing you watched this week. It's going to be a fun week because I think we have some big titles to talk about. It's that time of year when all the networks and all the studios are churning out their Christmas films, some of which are billion-dollar industry behemoth titans. I'm sure you know what we're going to be talking about with one of them. Don't forget that our Christmas podcast special, also video, because I believe we're doing video, is the Die Hard, whether it is a Christmas movie or whether you are wrong. And so this is I think we have 3 weeks left.
Of the year?
Of the year?
Yes. I'll go 2 or 3. Yes.
Yes, we are awake. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, Ruben. This has been a fun week, interesting week with some good stuff.
Yeah, it has. Okay, so if you don't know, welcome. This is Chris from Movies and Munchies, and we've got Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday, and probably a few ghosts flying around because Scrooge is about this time of year. So, Chris, why don't you start us off with one of your titles?
Well, I saw a little movie that I'm going to put it on the best thing I watched this week, but it was actually kind of poo.
Right.
Yeah, it was the third in a trilogy. Well, maybe there's going to be more. I don't really know. But yeah, it was this tiny movie called Spider-Man: No Way Home. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's an
Why don't you
indie
tell
film.
me about it. Is it indie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Indie, yeah. Very, very niche, very small. Not many people know about.
Who's in it?
This unknown British dude. He's from the UK. His Holland, Tom Holland. Yeah, and he speaks. Yeah, well, there's only like 15 of them, so I mean, we know, you know.
Yeah. There's only 15.
Oh goodness!
How long can we keep that going for?
Before people tune out and
they were like,
throw things
what?
at
What
dislike.
There's no dislike button anymore, so
yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, okay. Just leave your ire in the comments then. No, but you know what? This truly was the best thing I watched this week. I mean, I was blown away by the movie. I thought I was going to like it. I mean, come on. I'm a Marvel fan. I love the MCU. I have a lot of fun when I go to the movies because it's that escape. It's just well, it is. It's escapism. It's just a bunch of fun with big explosions, some great action, sometimes some really good drama, and you just really hope for a fun story. And this one, I wasn't prepared for what they gave us. I mean, there was the emotion in it, the story arcs that we got were way more mature, I think, than we have had in any of the other Spider-Man movies. I think they rival in maturity some of the other MCU movies, but I was just surprised with this one. And so I walked out, I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it was just not only because it was a lot of just enjoyment there and the fan service, but then the storytelling, while not perfect, was really well crafted, and it affected me emotionally multiple times throughout the story.
Yeah.
Tell me, what
are we ready to do spoiler reviews yet, or are we waiting?
I think we should do spoilers. It's been out for a couple of days. This is your spoiler warning.
Okay,
but yeah,
great.
because some of the things I wanted to talk about, actually all of the things I wanted to talk about, contain spoilers.
Those emotional beats is hard to talk about without spoilers. So yeah, if you don't want to hear about Spider-Man No Way Home at all, then please do skip ahead. We'll leave time codes if you're watching the YouTube version, and you can quickly check. I'll put in the description as well, just to make double show so that everybody's happy in our podcast segment. Nice. In the description, if you look there, we'll give you like timings. So Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. Everybody that likes Spider-Man, that bought tickets as soon as they could, those fans were always going to like the film. And to be honest, I don't think there's a bad Spider-Man movie. I think like there's some that are less fun, and everybody has their different rankings.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're a Spider-Man fan, a Marvel film buff. You're going to go in this excited. You're excited to see what Spidey's next outing is. And for the most part, my favorite Spider-Man has always been the Raimi trilogy. I like Tom Holland, but the Raimi trilogy, for me, that's what I grew up with. It's like asking me who my favorite Bond is. That would always be Pierce Brosnan, because I grew up with that. Okay, so in this film, there were emotional beats that I was so surprised by. And for me, this is the first Tom Holland film that I really connected with him as Peter Parker rather than Spider-Man. I always thought the Spider-Man stuff that they did was great. But Tom Holland's Peter Parker became a man in this. He became... Yes. And that's only because of the hardships that he has to go through in this film. It's the same beats. I mentioned in my review, there's like certain fixed points in time that happen with Spider-Man that have to happen to every Spider-Man. And so we get the Aunt May death because Uncle Ben has to die, and that's his version of Uncle Ben. But I do feel like he's gotten the harshest end of the stick, because he already had, like, his dad died. Like, Tony Stark was kind of his surrogate father, right? Mm-hmm. And like, that moment for him is hard. And having to almost have the mantelpiece of being the next Iron Man, like he's carrying the weight of the Avengers on him and the aftermath of friends that has died. Like, the other Spider-Man didn't go through that. Like, our world, because I like to think them in our world, because you know, it's all real. He's gone through a lot more, and especially when you hear all three of them talking about it. It's like, well, I've gone to space and I thought a purple giant. Hilarious, but so poignant and accurate. So when you get to the end, and he's gonna kill the guy, I was gonna say
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin. You want him. Like, I was like, yeah, I totally get why you would. And even afterwards, you would still be the hero, and I would understand that guy is evil, he needs to die. So you do wonder, if you took those two Spider-Men out, would he have gone to the dark side, or would they have written it differently? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting, because we need Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in this. For those redemption arcs. Yeah. You know, and that's where, like, I saw the crux of a lot of this story. And so when we get to, I mean, you hear them talk about, especially when they're on the rooftop, where Peter sees both of them for the first time, you know, and they're talking about each of their moments and the dark path that they went down, and how they're trying to get back from that, how they're trying to redeem it.
It's redemption for them as well, isn't it?
It totally is, because this movie provides redemption for all three of them. You know, you've got Andrew Garfield, who catches MJ. I mean, that's
the moment that got me the hardest. Like, out of all the moments of the film, that moment, I was like, tears.
Totally. Yeah. And you have Peter. I mean, not only does he save Osborn from, Tobey Maguire, Peter. Tobey Maguire saves Green Goblin, Osborn, from Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But in that moment, so he redeems, I mean, he's got his own redemption there, because he doesn't allow Green Goblin to die. But he also redeems Tom Holland's Spider-Man by not allowing him to go down that path. Yeah. You know, to make that mistake. And then you have, Osborn helping to save Doc Ock. Yeah. You have Doc Ock saving the Peters. I mean, it's, you know, all of these things. And so I think I'm not sure the movie would have had the same emotional weight had you taken those two out. Like, we could watch Peter Parker and Spider-Man go down this dark path, like each of the other ones have, you know, that and then they carry that weight, and it affects them moving forward. Now, he has his own baggage from all of this that does affect him, you know, and now he's got the added thing of the people that he loved most in his life have zero clue of who he is. And so that, you know, there's its own darkness within there and its own sadness. But I think if you don't have those two to help Tom Holland, obviously you have a completely different movie, but it's a different tone all the way around too. And I don't think we get any of those redemption stories, which I would argue at that point it becomes a weaker film. And it at least from a what do I want to say? From a maturity standpoint, from a differentiating standpoint, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we've seen both of them. I think so in both of the Spider-Mans. Well, I don't remember Amazing Spider-Man too much. I don't remember if he kind of goes kind of in that darker realm like we see in Raimi's trilogy. But even with Superman, you know what I mean? Like the original Christopher Reeve ones. I mean, he goes dark for a while, and then you have that redemption from that. So anyway, I've talked a lot. But yeah.
Okay, so I did give it a 5 stars, but I don't think it's a perfect movie that a lot of the fans are making it out to be like the best film ever made. Like if you wanted to, you could totally pull it apart. And there are story plot MacGuffins that make the film work. And if you didn't have them, then it wouldn't quite work.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to change the story up. For example, his best friend gets the Ring of Power and is suddenly can make the twirling portals. Now, if you remember Doctor Strange's film, how many years, how long it took him to master the magical arts. And he became like the one power for magics to protect Earth until he went away for a while in the blip. So now are we saying that his friend, Tom Holland's friend, what is his name?
Ned,
thanks. Ned is more powerful than them naturally and therefore doesn't need any sort of power, no training. He just started, oh, look, I've accidentally created a portal. I mean, at that point, in my head, I would use an English swear word going bollocks. So there are things in this film that are like, yeah, okay. But I love it, so I'm going to allow it, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, well, and I think that's what, we're not, I mean, the enjoyment of that doesn't come from, and for my score, it doesn't come necessarily from flawlessness. You know what I mean? Like there are several movies that are very flawed, but part of it is how much did I enjoy it? You know?
Exactly.
I mean, really, we go to the movies to have fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can turn on the news and I can look outside and I can go read the newspaper or walk down the street and see real life. And some of those movies, some of those types of movies and stories have their place.
Yeah.
And they can be amazing. That's not what this was. I wanted to go for 2.5 hours and have my hair blown back and just, escape from the world. And that's exactly what it did.
Yeah.
Go for
it. When we got to the end, I was so happy because I was like, he is now Spider-Man. He gets his little apartment. He's gone through all of that harshness. And you see him swinging through the streets. He now, like, if he goes and gets a job as a photographer or a pizza delivery guy, you'd be like, yeah, he's at that stage now. He's reached the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire stage where he was the new kid in the block, but now you can see him. It wouldn't matter if you had to take out a couple of villains on the way to work. That would be okay for him. He's reached that next level. And I thought it's so cool to see him established at that now, because anything that he does from now on, we know that he can handle it, sort of, because he's gone through all of those plot points. So it feels like all new, I guess all new storylines next. And I hope they keep it fresh and make it new. Which leads me into talking about the end credit scenes. And a little bit annoyed about the end credit scenes, actually, to be honest. I was wondering if there's an argument to be made whether we should even have them anymore. They really played a part in the MCU for the first few phases because they drew those films, not my mic, they drew those films together. Now it's become a thing that people want to see at the end of the film, so people wait because they expect to see some sort of thing that might link to the next film, not necessarily linking them. But I do have to say, after coming off the high of the film and then waiting for the clip, it did take away some of what my mind was thinking on the enjoyment, because now I'm thinking about the other film immediately, almost afterwards. So I'm thinking about Venom, I'm thinking about Doctor Strange and Wonder, and I'm just like, but I actually don't. I still want to be thinking about Spider-Man right now. I don't want to be thinking how he plays a part, because this film started off. Remember, I'm MCU film. Remember, because Doctor Strange, we have all the magics, but then it goes straight into no, I'm a Spider-Man film, and it's all about him. Even with the nostalgia and the other Spider-Mans, I am Spider-Man. I don't need to be connected to the MCU. And then we get the, hey, remember Venom and Doctor Strange? And I'm like, yeah, okay.
I agree. I mean, the Venom one, that felt like Sony's doing of their way to tie it back to their properties. You know what I mean? Using the MCU device to then tie it back. I thought it was a creative way to roll out the Doctor Strange 2 trailer, because that's what that was. You know what I mean? That was not a scene like we've done. That was an actual, I mean, the way that
was
felt was a trailer, just without the beginning and the end, to show that. And so it was definitely different. Do we need them? I don't know. I think it maybe depends on what the story is being told. Like, think back to Eternals, where we have Harry Styles come out as who are Eros. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay, that teases a little bit. Yeah. What's to come eventually, And so I like that. I think that is what they used to do. And that's what they were for, And so I would have much preferred to have seen, and I can't remember the character's name, but Chiwetel Ejiofor's...
Chiwetel Ejiofor, yeah.
Ejiofor, yeah. His character, like maybe a scene with him as a teaser to then show, Doctor Strange will return in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much they want to do that, because it's still really a Sony property, this movie that we're seeing, True. And so maybe that was the only way they could do that, to include it in there. I don't know.
And I do have a question about, maybe you have some insight into this or can help me understand it. The Venom end credit scene, we have, so at the end of Venom 2, he was transported to this world, which I'm guessing is the same spell that connects from this movie, brought in all the Spider-Mans and Venom. That's why he was brought in there.
Yes.
And when the spell is reversed, he gets sent back. All the Spider-Men, all the bad guys, they get sent back to their own worlds, right? So why was part of the symbiote left there? How is that even possible?
The only thing, no, I don't know. I was going to say the only thing I could think of is how, like the same way, the same anomaly, how Peter was able to move Spider-Man's arm holding the box when Doctor Strange separated his realities. Okay. But that's a different thing. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense. It's a I think what it's doing is, if they, hopefully, I really do hope they continue the Spider-Man with Tom Holland, but maybe that's the way to introduce Venom into this world.
Yeah. And do you think they should do the Venom where Tom Holland becomes Venom, or they should do a new, like, Alien Eddie Brock story? Because we've had it done a few times, and it just feels like it's not new ground. I kind of want Venom from the Sony IP to interact with Tom Holland in a space adventure of some kind. A symbiote invasion would be great.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know where I would want to see it go. I think I almost don't want it to have a part in it. Because we have Tom Hardy playing Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
And doing that portion of it. And so to have another Eddie Brock come in, you know what I mean?
Oh no, I meant Eddie Brock has to be him. He has to come back.
But just keeping Venom without Eddie Brock, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it would work. At least for me, from my own personal standpoint, I don't think it would work, because I now hear Venom's voice, and the interaction with Tom Hardy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
to not have that dynamic, but bring it into a different movie, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure I would buy it. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So I think we've spoken about Spider-Man at length. Are there any other moments that you wanted to talk about?
There were a couple of just little Easter eggs that I wanted to see if you caught them. I think most people that enjoyed any of the Spider-Man things would get them. But like when they all land on the Statue of Liberty, each of them is doing their unique pose.
Yeah.
You know, it just thought that was really cool to see. And then that whole, I mean, I thought it was actually pretty blatant, but when Tobey Maguire kept saying to Andrew Garfield, "You're amazing. You're amazing.
Absolutely.
Say it. You're amazing." I'm like, dang it, I want you to say this
You're
too.
the amazing Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, exactly.
One of my favorite parts is those webs come from you. How?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that whole conversation, yeah. And the curiosity, the banter that they all three had together, I thought was amazing. I mean, they were each able to bring their own personalities from the original movies into this, you know? And it really worked well together. I mean, I was
It was
shocked.
actually something I was sad about. I thought because they work so well together, had them brought them earlier in the film, they could have done a lot more with it. Because the film very much is a play by numbers, and you totally know where it's going. Like, you know, what's going to happen. I would have liked something else to have happened at the end because you did really well to keep away from everything, but I'd seen like the posters and the clips and the trailers, so I knew like, oh, well, this is the ending, and this is this action piece. I was like, please be something else, go somewhere else, do something. Not that I didn't love it, but it's very hard to keep anything secret in this type of film. So by the time you get to the film, you've heard like all the rumors, and I have to say the fans are pretty good at dissecting the truth from things that aren't even there. They'll be like, I think it's this because of this. And you're like, can't be. And it's like, oh, you were right. Okay.
Yeah. The power of the internet too, you know what I mean? Like bringing all of the minds together so that you may not have all of the pieces, but somebody over here has one piece and somebody over here has this piece and somebody, you know, and together.
We're a hive mind.
Exactly. Yes. That's the end of humanity as we know it.
Everybody on one subject. Yeah, maybe we can concentrate on that and try and like do world peace.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Yes. Put our minds to good use.
Yeah. But no, Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's all I have. I mean, I really could talk a long time about it because it was just so much fun, and it was way better than I actually anticipated it being. You know, I knew I was gonna have fun with it. I mean, I didn't have any doubt with that. But the way that it resonated with me and made me tear up more than once, gave me chills more than once, you know, and then also made me laugh and made me chuckle and just
How loud was your crowd?
Actually, very respectful. It wasn't like when Cap picks up. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like that. I mean, there were moments. I mean, when both of the Peters came in, especially when Andrew Garfield first makes his appearance. I mean, there was like a you know, but it didn't drown out anything, and it was very succinct, so that you know we could hear the rest of it and stuff like that. But it, was your crowd?
Surprisingly, I mean, it was about half full, but it was surprisingly loud, and the British don't do that. We've already had some quite shirty articles from certain news outlets saying, please stop this shouting and laughing. This is not what you do. People pay for money, and the last thing they want to hear is people shouting in the cinema, you know. And I'm like, you must be fun at Christmas.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you know, it's funny too, because I've been in screenings and in movies like opening day or whatever, where sometimes that is true, where I hear people, they're talking, like they're narrating or they're incessantly, you know, disrupting what's going on. But when it's a shared experience like that, I think it adds something. I mean, I even think back to Hereditary, where the when we see Toni Collette up on the wall, I mean, people, like that. And they're like, oh no, what? And so you have these group reactions, which I think works. When it becomes so distracting though, or when it becomes so over that you can't hear what's going on, that definitely comes into play. But I also think nowadays we might have some of these, like the writers take into account that, you know what, this moment where Cap picks up the Mjolnir, is that how you pronounce it? Whatever.
Mjolnir?
Yes, that thing.
Mjolnir?
People are going to cheer, and so we're going to give it a beat before Thor says, I knew it, and then when he says, Avengers, assemble, there's going to be clapping, there's going to be cheering. So they give that a little bit of space within the dialogue to do that. You know what I mean? I think in a lot of these that, especially where you have this monster fan base, that they begin to anticipate some of that and allow that in there. Now, how much of that time is there? And, can they anticipate everything? No. So, but yeah, I mean, if you go into a movie like this, you kind of got to expect a little bit of that.
And what do you think about clapping? Because one of the arguments I heard is at the end, people clap for the film that they've enjoyed. And the argument I heard was like, well, no one's there that made the film. Who are you clapping for? The projectionist? So I get it. But
I've used that argument too. I don't understand the clapping, but yet I do understand the clapping because, again, it's a shared experience. It's you know what? It's a natural reaction that, hey, this was wonderful, and you just join in that. And there is, I mean, think about some of these movies. I mean, I don't know how it is in the UK, but when Endgame ended, even when this one ended, people didn't leave right away. You know what I mean? There's discussions that are going on. You're sitting with what we just saw and what that meant. And people are talking and they're whispering and they're like, and at the end of Infinity War, I mean, people are wiping their eyes and crying and the whole thing. So I think, I don't know.
No, I mean, it's unusual once the credits start rolling in a UK film or UK cinema. Normally, especially if it's an MCU or it's something that they know there's going to be in credits, normally about half will get up and leave because they don't care. They've seen the film. This one, I think one person left and he looked like he needed the toilet. Everybody else sat, waited, watched both credit scenes, and then even as the lights came up and you had the inpatient ushers, waiting to collect the rubbish, people are sat there like kind of chatting in this moment and excited because they've just experienced something. It was quite special for them, and it's that you've seen a good film when the whole way home, whoever you've seen it with, that's what you're talking about. You're asking questions. Exactly. Yeah. Like when you first watched The Matrix.
Yeah.
Those are good films.
Yeah, absolutely. It blew me away when we were watching this. We saw it because I had jury duty. So I missed my screening early. So I went with everybody else, which was fine. It was great. But about 25 minutes into the movie, this large group of people walks in and sits down.
What? No. What? Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know. Why would you? I mean, the concession line was really long, but it wasn't that long. And so I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I would be upset if I walked into this big of a movie if I had taken. I mean, it took me over 2 hours to get tickets for this. That if I show up 30 minutes late or even 15 minutes late, 5 minutes late to the movie, I don't. No.
Wow. No.
Anyway.
No. And that is how I bred a donkey with a rabbit.
If you can't tell from continuity errors and stuff like that, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, and Ruben's beanie has magically popped off, and he was telling me a wonderful story. You'll have to hear it sometime. It's lost to, forever. But anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so after Spider-Man No Way Home, Ruben, what's up on your list?
I guess we kind of got to talk about because I'm going to put an American accent.
Gotta.
The Witcher season 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Have you managed to catch up on the episodes?
I still have not yet. I didn't get to finish the final 2, so I'm a little bummed because I have enjoyed what I was seeing so far.
Okay.
How about you? You finished?
Yeah, I finished them. And I think they were strong episodes, especially the last episode.
Okay.
Which I will spoil for you now.
Okay, perfect. Go for it. No, it's okay. You totally can.
No, it was big. The monsters were excellent. I remember talking to you about it before, saying that the monsters have levels. And you go one level and then there's another. Yeah. It's just like, whoa, this is really, really cool. I think they really, with their teams, I was doing some research on how many teams they had on the go and how many people were working. So there were like 4 different teams on different units filming different sections at one time. Massive budget, obviously. And then they would intersect them. You have your second units, you have your second unit directors, and they are filming normally like the ambience, the pickup shots, like exterior shots that you would just like splice in. So that all works really well. But I think for me, Henry and Ciri, I thought were excellent. Whenever they're on screen together was great. And then my other favorite moments is when Yennefer and Henry are together, even though, I mean, it takes a while because it's a few episodes in until you see them. I think they're, because I'm saying a lot without saying nothing. Okay, without saying anything. You get this history. You know that there's the stuff that's happened, even though, because where we pick up on second season, there's stuff that's happened. It's after the battle, and Henry's like, must find Yennefer, and then she's like, she's dead, and then he's sad Henry again. I say sad Geralt. But I really like their interactions. I think when the characters are on screen together in their little groups, it works well. And then when they're not, it dips a little. I do feel like it was somewhat a little, and I don't want to say anything negative, but it did feel a little bit Robin Hood to me. Like there were times it was like, oh, this is fantasy. We're in the fantasy zone. But when it's strongest, it's playing on building those characters. So when we have the action pieces, you're with them, you care about what's happening. Because I really cared about what was happening to the witches.
Yes.
Even though I didn't know much about them, the little bits they give to you, like you were asking, like, how does a witcher come to be? And you get insight into that because of the whole Ciri situation, right?
Yeah.
Which is excellent. I thought it was a really clever way to go with it. I noticed there's been some negativity towards the Ciri storyline because they seem to be rushing her, like suddenly she's got power. Suddenly she can do things that would have normally in game taken you a good 20 hours to do, and in book probably 2 or 3 books in. Like there's a long arc there. So maybe they got plans to show her, like use her as a using magics. Because, and I really want to talk about the last 2 episodes. I'll do it.
Go for it. You totally can. It's okay.
Okay. So basically, we know that the next season is going to probably be about the Wild Hunt, which is what you got in the games as well. And there you get little snippets of them in visions throughout the seasons of these guys on horses wearing dark armor, like black headgear, like crowns. That's all black. But this whole season has been shadowed by the witch in the hut that has been controlling, like puppet strings, right? She's been...
Yeah.
But the reason for that is she wants to escape, but she actually doesn't belong on this sphere. If you hear Garrett talk about it, or one of the witches, you'll know that there are many spheres, and the conjunction or the convergence was when monsters and men and witches or demons came to be, and now we're all fighting for the same land. That's the story of The Witcher. And so that starts to play a real part in it, and they start showing us little snippets of what's to come. It very much feels like a stepping stone to what's to come. And I think that's the major negativity of it. It doesn't feel so much as a contained story as a stepping stone to the stories to come, which I think I can totally understand. So season 1, it felt like a contained story, even though we knew that his next story was to find Ciri and protect her. I guess we were introducing the world. In season 2, we're introducing so much more of the world, and we're doing the witches and their origins, and we're doing Ciri's origins, and we're trying to recover Yennefer's magics, and we're introducing the other spheres, and reducing the consequences of the first season, and it just keeps on going. And that's before we've met some of our side characters, Jaskier. So there's a lot going on in this. But I still loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, fantasy is my jam, man. So I think it's yours as well. What did you think of the 6 you saw?
I actually, it was funny. I liked this season more than I did the first season.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that had to do with the storytelling itself. Yes, there was a lot of world building that went into that first season. And you have the weird timelines, which then did make sense. And so that didn't even play into necessarily my enjoyment of it. I think what this one is I felt more for the relationships. Yeah. Especially Geralt and Ciri. I mean, them together, that learning to work together, to trust, you have this like surrogate father type of relationship where he feels very, very protective and doesn't want her to do certain things because he's already experienced these, or he's seen what battle can bring. And so he wants to protect her from that. But she is now butting up against that, being like, I have to be able to protect myself. I have to be able to know some of these things. So let me do it. And that, that struggle back and forth that they have. And then there's also I think when she was going through that Witcher training course, and she gets to the very end and she falls off the platform, he was like, almost, or so close, or something like that. I mean, it's, so he rides that line of concerned parent, but then also Witcher, who that's how he would respond to one of the other ones who had almost, and so that was, to me, that was the most powerful thing. And that's what drew me in the most over the course of this season, that I was just, I was really enjoying them. I loved the monsters. I loved what we were getting to see and how they were different. I mean, they were big.
The tree monster is incredible.
Oh, yeah. But then the bug thing that came right after it, that was wrong.
It was gross.
I mean, it was just, it was. It was disturbing. And so I did have a lot of fun. I loved being in the world. I thought episode 1, where we have, where we're following Geralt in that part of it, was a little odd. I mean, it was there, I think, to illustrate the relationship as it is now with Ciri and him. Yeah. And how she's petulant. She doesn't always listen to him. She doesn't obey. She doesn't do what he tells her to do because she has her own mind, and her own wishes and her own desires. And that sets up, obviously, the future arc. But just that sequence, to me, was just, it was a little weird all the way around. I enjoyed it. It wasn't that. It was just, it had a more whimsical, comical type of feel to it that the rest of the episodes that I watched did not have.
It could be that they filmed it in season 1 because they were.
Oh, and then
they just started it there for season 2.
Brought it into season 2. Yeah, that could have been, because it was weird. I mean, it starts off very dark, with that family coming in and just being ripped apart.
Yeah.
But then you have his friend who just like snaps and the food falls and it just, everything falls from the sky, which I thought was great. I mean, it was unique, and it just tonally, it was a little different. It was kind of that absurd where then we don't see that any other time. That even when magic happens or different things like that, it's more serious, maybe, I guess.
Yeah,
is
the way
right
I
term.
looked at it, this was the game episode and the rest is the book episodes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Very much felt like
Fair
a
enough.
character that you would see in the game, unaffected and played and try and figure out a way out once you're trapped in this house with a guy that's got magic that's turned into a beast because of a curse, and then there's something that's feeding on him, which he was in love with. It was actually quite sad, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, yeah.
Because in the end, I didn't want her to die, but she kind of had to.
Yeah. When and it's a curious type of thing because their relationship worked for what it was. You know what I mean? In their little realm there, they were fine. But once Geralt, as an outsider, comes in, he really initiates the problems. And so then he kills her, but he's also what set her off. And their presence.
I mean, she was the one that killed everybody in the village, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's not a good person. I'm not saying that. I mean, she as a character, she is the antagonist in this, but think about it. Once you have then this dynamic where they just sit there and she feeds off of him and he's okay with it.
Yeah.
So they have this relationship and she is calm. And as long as nobody else enters into their space, they're fine. Yeah. And they just coexist with really no outside influence or influence on the outside world. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been fine if she didn't go out and kill anybody else. Then they could exist like that. But a witch's job is to put away monsters, whatever form that takes, whether it's human monster or monster.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. It was sad. It was like, if you hadn't come across this, they probably would have been there for much longer.
Yeah. And as odd as his situation was, he was fine with it.
Yeah, he was heartbroken at the end. Yeah, nice tone to start off. So I thoroughly enjoyed season 2. I'm not going to spoil the last episode for you because I want you to enjoy it. There's a whole fight sequence with the witches, which is what I wanted, and it's excellent.
Okay,
yeah, really fun.
Well, in episode 6, where Geralt is fighting the burned face dude, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
In that sanctuary type of place, that was an exciting fight.
Yeah,
I loved the camera work with it. It was just that was great.
It's great.
So
yeah, they don't hold back for that last episode. So
nice,
yeah, really fun.
Right on.
So what else have you got?
I stumbled across a series that is on HBO that I did not know about. It is called Landscapers, and only the first 2 episodes are out. It's based on a true story, a true crime, I guess, of this couple who, where I'm at in the show, the parents of the wife were killed by gunshots and then buried in the backyard, and the couple have lived either at that house or then in France for 15 years. And it stars Olivia Colman and David Thewlis.
Okay, well, you sold me on Olivia.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now, have you heard of this series?
I've heard of it. I didn't know who was in it. Yeah.
Okay. This is a very unique presentation. I mean, it's going to keep you on your toes, make you scratch your head, but all in a good way. It is a very, very bizarre presentation in the way that they tell this story and that they show it to us visually.
In what way?
Olivia Colman is sort of mentally unhinged. Not in, I think, at least right now, from the first 2 episodes, not as like a crazed killer type of thing, where she's just not in touch with reality. She believes that she is in contact with Gerard Depardieu. She's on a first name basis with him.
Brilliant.
when she watches things, she'll watch a movie like an old Western with Gary Cooper, and the screen will go black and white. And she will see her husband as Gary Cooper.
Weird.
Or imagine him in, you know what I mean, that he is saying these types of things in this movie. They will, as they recount things, like they will go to a bar, but it is a very clearly a set within a very large, dark soundstage. And all of the people at the bar have masks on, save for the bartender, which whatever, and then some dude in the background that then the camera will focus on for a second. And I don't understand that meaning yet, but they communicate, like the police send an email to the couple, and instead of us seeing it, or it's narrated to us, but you see the DCI saying it. So he's looking at the camera, delivering this email, reading it, and you see them then in front, and it will transition. The whole thing is it's quirky all the way through. So everything that I've seen is very consistent in how weird it is, but then the story is engaging because it is based on a true story. Now, I don't know how much of what they're giving to us and how they're presenting it is based in reality or not. But it's odd. Their communication back and forth is odd.
It sounds really strange.
It is. And the score, sometimes I pay attention to scores, sometimes I don't. This one though stood out to me that it is, it adds an oddity to the whole presentation, but it works. There's offbeat music. I think sometimes even discordant or just like different types of notes, like they shifted the keys, a little bit on the piano or something like that, in the tune. And so, but it all together works. Now, I don't know where it's going. It's only been the 2 episodes and I'm just watching it, week by week. I think it comes out on Mondays. So I'll catch this next one, this next week. But it's a limited series to the best of my knowledge. I think maybe 6 or 8 episodes total. The acting is phenomenal. It really is. It sucks you in. It is, the banter back and forth, the dialogue delivery is very dysfunctional among everybody and yet engaging. And you're just like, wait, did that just happen? The timelines, I think, are a little weird. Maybe not timelines, but the aging of the people, because when we see Olivia Colman and David Thewlis, they're obviously older, but they're said to be like in their 40s, I think. And see, and maybe that's where I misunderstood a little bit, but maybe because when they're being questioned by the police, I think they said something like, they either said, well, you're in your 40s now, or that was in the 40s, or when you were in your 40s. So they could be in their mid 50s now, or anyway, it doesn't really affect anything. They do a good job of, like, when they go back to when this event happened, Olivia Colman has darker hair. She has more of a age appropriate, maybe, haircut. David Thewlis is wearing a wig, but he has hair. When we see him in the present, Olivia Colman has gray through it. She looks older. David Thewlis's hair is very thin, very short, so it makes him appear older, even though their faces don't necessarily change too much. They don't really do a whole lot of makeup with that, which I liked. So anyway, definitely worth checking out. It's completely odd, and it scratches a whole bunch of itches. Itches a bunch of whatever. It ticks a lot of the boxes for me because it's true crime, which I love. It's drama, which I love. It's odd, and it has some quirky humor in it, which I'm absolutely drawn to. So you add all of those in together, and it's like, yep. Oh, and it's British, so that big checkbox for me.
Well, I like Olivia Colman, and I like quirky and odd and weird, but I don't like the idea of being too too self-aware, like the whole idea of the soundstage and them coming onto like, is that her in her mind, or are they trying to be too artsy?
That's she doesn't necessarily know that it's a soundstage. It's just the way that it's presented.
Right.
And at the end of each episode, they have news reports playing, and what they do is it's kind of cool. I mean, they take snippets, sound bites from a whole bunch of different reports and put it together to make sentences that flow. And so obviously it could be taken out of context, but you understand what it's talking about because they're all pretty much talking about the same thing. And so they're probably all saying close to the same thing.
Yeah.
About that. But as you're watching this, you're seeing like B-roll of the production company taking down a set they had put up. Or it is. It's really but it works. That's the thing. It's oddball. And I don't know how well it's going to resonate with everybody because it is so different. But it's not. What was that movie? There was a movie a bunch of years ago with Nicole Kidman, and it was like a play, but it was a movie. Dog Yard, I don't know, something like that. Very odd. I couldn't get into that movie.
Right.
That's not what like this is.
Okay.
It's not.
Dogsville?
Yeah.
No.
That's it.
Dogsville?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Okay, so keeping it HBO and keeping it weird and keeping it limited series. I mentioned to you that you need to watch this series. There's 10 episodes, hour long, and I believe the first 3 have dropped. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then they're going to be, and then the next week is like 2, and then the following week it's really random. Yeah, it follows on.
It's 3, 2, 2, 2, 1.
Bonkers. Okay.
Which, yeah.
But great. They're changing up the formula. Good for them. I also agree with them having to do that because I have to say, when I said to you, watch this series, we had done the first 3, and that's what hooked us. We were like, this is brilliant. This is weird. This is wacky. I haven't even ever said what it is yet. Station 11.
I knew what you were talking about.
Station 11 is a new HBO Max limited series based on a book with a fantastic cast. I could list them all. A few unknowns, I think. What I love, we've mentioned this before. There's I think a couple of actors that have disabilities, but are just there as actors. Like they don't show this is my disability and therefore that's why I'm in this series. No, they're there because they can act well and they have a disability. So that's just one side quest. I was like, yeah, that's fantastic. It's so weird. It's a post-apocalyptic, brilliant show. But okay, the next few episodes that you're about to watch will just give you more questions and no answers. And it gets quite frustrating. And as each episode goes along, Kirsten and I, we were like, what is the show about, actually? What is it? What is the show? By the time we get to episode 10, there is a conclusion and a wrap-up that feels somewhat satisfying. But for our viewers and our listeners, if you're going to go into the show and you get hooked at the beginning, you need to know this is more about how people survive in a post-apocalyptic event that wipes out the human race, mostly. And it's just a snapshot at who's left. It's kind of that. There isn't much more to it. Okay? So if you go in with that, you won't be disappointed. Because there is this hint that, the series is called Station 11, so maybe we're going to get something sci-fi. There isn't. There just isn't. So I just need to put that outside of your mind. You're going to be disappointed if you go in thinking... and then you have the time jumps, which is why you probably will still think, maybe there is something. Because we go from future to how it actually happened, to characters that are young to when they're old. And then you have individual episodes about one entire character that just concentrates on them the whole episode, and then we don't come back to that character for another 5 episodes. Like, it's all over the place. However, it's brilliant. Like, the costume design is one of the best things when you were in the present. There is this traveling band of actors that do Shakespeare plays. that are brilliant, and all their costumes are made up of things from the environment. But also not tacky. They also look really good. And the Shakespeare that they do, surprisingly, furthers the plot of the story. It has a real need to be there rather than, look at us, we're doing Shakespeare, which is cool in itself. And the fact that Shakespeare has survived in this post-apocalyptic event is also cool. But can I say, it also feels, those first 3 episodes feel very apt and close to home with what's happening right now. Like, you look at this and you think, 6 months' time, like, if COVID mutates once more from the version that we have now of our Transformaton, then that could, that's a reality.
Yeah, it was really close to, I mean, the book was written, I think, in 2015-ish, or came out in 2015. So it's not
about,
at least as
COVID. Yeah, but it's,
it could be. I mean, and the presentation that we're getting certainly has that feel to it. I'm glad you said what you said, even though it bummed me out.
Yeah, sorry.
That if I'm thinking, because I've only watched the first 3 episodes. I have all the rest of them, and I was going to binge the rest of it. I still will. But that first episode, I mean, I told my wife right after we watched it, I was like, that's how you do a premiere episode. That is, I was so sucked in because it teased me so much. But you know what was confusing to me is that so many of the comments that I was getting in my review was that this is boring. What's going on? I don't even care about this. I want to turn it off. And I'm
Really?
like,
Wow.
I was like, oh, I must have watched a different show because I was hooked in episode 1. I was blown away at how engaging it actually was. And yeah, it had a lot of questions that it raised. I'm not saying that, but I don't want them answered in episode 1. No, otherwise there's no reason to continue on. Yeah. I am a little bummed though to hear that it's not really a sci-fi twist or anything like that. I mean, because I had some theories, especially as we see the graphic novel that she has written.
So the graphic novel comes into play, but it's not a sci-fi thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought even, no, I won't say it because I don't want it in case it is a spoiler or whatever. I have a theory. I had a theory about its placement and what it actually means for the story that we're watching.
Right.
Especially when we see at the end of episode 1, the imagery that we see, you know what I mean, that ties very closely into the graphic novel.
Yeah.
But
I want to own the graphic novel. It looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And I mean the acting is wonderful.
So good.
I mean, Hamish Patel, I think, was he in Yesterday? Was he in that movie?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to say yes.
Beatles movie.
And then they get in trouble because everybody says, well, you think we all look alike? And no, that's not true.
Yeah, no, that's not what his name sounded very familiar to me.
Right.
And I couldn't remember where it was. I'll look it up on IMDb. But his interaction with the girl, he sold that so well.
Yeah.
His his uncertainty, the concern that he has and the shock that he has that nobody else around him seems to be noticing certain things or is concerned about certain things as he is, but then him also having enough self-awareness to be like, you don't have to come home with me. I need you to understand that you have to say you want to, otherwise it's kidnapping, different things like that. The one thing that was very odd to me when they go grocery shopping, I don't know the prices. He spent $10,000 on groceries and had 5 shopping carts. There's not $2,000 worth of groceries in each, even if you were filling it up with liquor.
Well, maybe he was buying like batteries and stuff because batteries are expensive.
2,000? No, that was the one. I mean, yes,
maybe
they
it was
are,
a brand shop. You're in New York, and everything's hyped up.
Maybe, I don't know. It was very.
Don't pull it apart, Chris.
I know. But even within there, he looks at the price and goes through his credit cards and is like, and he's got the other one out and it goes through and he goes, no, there was never any doubt.
There's never any doubt.
Just, yeah, the whole sequence. I mean, I loved it, and I'm still going to watch because I enjoy what it means, and there's some dark things in it, and you have this distrust that weaves its way in and out, which is natural, I think. But I was also, at least in the first 3 episodes, I was really glad that we have a post-apocalyptic devastation type of show where people aren't being eaten, you know. And I'm not even talking about like zombies like Walking Dead. I mean, I think to Cormac McCarthy's The Road, you know, when we had Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, yeah. The wolves.
The people are nasty and wrong.
And that is the most depressing film I've ever seen. Can I just say that film is so heavy. It's just, oh my gosh. No.
Is. Yeah. Put you in the bell jar and leave you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's, I was glad that at least in these first 3 episodes, and obviously I don't know where it's going yet, but even when you have the traveling symphony, you know, and how great was it to see Lori Petty in something? I mean, I think the last time I've seen her, I don't even remember, what, Tank Girl?
Tank Girl. I was literally going to say Tank Girl. She's excellent as well in this. Yeah.
She is. She really is. And at the beginning, when we first see her, I truly thought she was just nuts.
Yeah.
And she may be nuts, but
she kind of
but
is.
I thought
she's a composer nuts. So
yeah. Well, and when she looks out, you know, and she's talking to the little girl, and she talks about how the play or whatever. I'm like, there's nothing out there. You are okay. You're gone. We're just gonna thank you for. Okay, I gotta go now. But no, she's legit.
Yeah,
weird, but still. So anyway,
Mackenzie Davis plays the old version of the little girl, and she's fantastic. Like, she carries the series for most of the time.
Series, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen her, I know a lot of people don't like Terminator Dark Fate. I don't mind it, but yeah, she was pretty cool in that. She was like the Terminator, I think, the half human Terminator.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, the hybrid thing. She's done some action stuff. She's also done Black Mirror. Tully, she was in Blade Runner 2049. So, like, I was really glad to see her, because sometimes you see someone who you know is just going to really take a role like that and run with it. Yeah, there's an action sequence later that she also gets to show some of her acting chops when it comes to action that I was thought, damn, that was really entertaining, intense. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her character, what she did to this, because it was she retained a little bit of like stuntedness to her development.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she had a childlike portion within her, even though she was hardened to the world around her because she has grown up in this. You know, but you could see different little bits in here and there where it was like, that you're not, I mean, you're an adult, you know, but that is not an adult response or an adult look that you give. You have there's still a child right there that in that moment, and her ability to capture that, I thought was really good.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. Do watch it if you're listening. It's very entertaining, but it's going to leave you with like most questions until episode 9 and 10.
Okay.
And even then, you're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. It's more the ride of what you're experiencing and how they show that. And I guess the relationships that are formed during the way. There's definitely relationships that are hinted at, that grow, or that are part of the story that aren't revealed until the end. So there are some things that you go, oh, okay, cool. So that's how that links up to that. It's that sort of story.
Okay.
Those sort of things would be the biggest reveals.
So since you've seen the whole thing in its entirety, is this something that you recommend binging all at once?
Yeah,
or
100%.
Okay.
It's so complicated in its storylines that I would say this is why I'm glad they, instead of doing one episode 2 at a time, Like, definitely do it that way. And I kind of understand it because they're hour long, so it's a big ask to ask people to sit down and watch 10 hours. But 2, yeah, you could do that. 3, 2, 2, and 1. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I will finish it very soon, so I can put out the rest of my review. But yeah, I have enjoyed what we've seen so far. So
nice.
Cool.
So,
well,
is that everything on your list?
Yeah, that was Station 11 was the last thing on my list.
Oh,
so
cool.
that's wonderful. I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
No, I watched a lot of mediocre stuff this week, so those were the 3.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, thank you for watching. Don't forget, coming up this coming week on Christmas Day, our Die Hard special. We're excited to talk about this. Is it or is it not a Christmas movie? You are welcome to be wrong in your opinion, just like we are. But, what are some of the best things that you watched this week? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear. I love getting the suggestions. I know you do too, Ruben.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lots of fun to get these different things. But please like, share, subscribe. And if you want the full extended portion where we cover some of the news from the week and things that we're looking forward to, coming up this next week, definitely head on over to the audio portion on the podcast. And you can get that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever.
By post and VHS and...
That's awesome. The tracking all off. Like, just hit it on the side there. We'll be good to go. But if you do check us out on the podcast, please rate and review us as well. That would be greatly appreciated. But other than that, we hope you have an awesome holiday week if you do celebrate. And we'll catch you on the 25th, Christmas Day, for Die Hard.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.